Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week, and if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. Today's tutorial has been a long time coming. We're finally making a full-length cable sweetheart tank top, complete with an Alpine stitch heart for an extra touch of sweetness from my hook to yours, with plenty of love. Now you probably know the drill, but just in case you're new, welcome! I share modern crochet patterns and tutorials you're sure to love with new uploads every Wednesday and Sunday. So tell a friend and don't forget to tap the bell to subscribe so you'll never miss an upload. Also, if you enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it's a great way to support the channel and help keep these tutorials free. So without further ado, here's how to make your own cable sweetheart tank. For this project, any category 3 yarn will work, but I used a total of 110 grams of yarn. That's 400 yards if you're stateside. As for tools, a 4mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order, and enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us if you ever had to have braces. I did for 5 years. Details for the giveaway down below. We're using 7 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, treble crochet, and double treble crochet. This tutorial is made for a size small. You can adjust it for your size and explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this top started, we're all going to grab our category 3 yarn and make a slip knot. Then we're all going to grab our 4mm hook and start off by making a chain 16 because we are all starting with our cable stitch detail first. Now that we have our chain, we're all going to do a half double crochet row. So start by blocking off that last chain and do a chain 2. That chain 2 does not count as a stitch. That's our turning chain. Then we're going to put 1 half double crochet into every chain. So yarn over into that chain that we blocked off, or the 3rd chain from our hook. We're going to bring our hook down into that chain, yarn over, pull through to get 3 loops on our hook. Then yarn over, pull through all 3. That is our first half double crochet. Let's do one more. Yarn over, insert your hook into that following chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3. Continue with 1 half double crochet into every chain to get a total of 16. Everyone's row 1 is complete. Now to get started on our row 2, which is going to be another half double crochet row, we're all going to chain 2 and flip. From here, simply put 1 half double crochet into every stitch to still get a total of 16 stitches. Everyone's row 2 is complete. Now let's get started on our row 3, which is our first cable stitch row. So from where we're at, chain 2 and flip. Now to get started on our row 3's right cable, we're all going to start with a front post treble crochet. So starting with the yarn over of 2. All of our post stitches will be worked into our previous odd number row. So since we're currently working on row 3, we're going to be inserting our hook into our row 1. So we just yarn over twice. We're going to find that first half double crochet from our row 1, making sure that we are not counting that chain 2. We're going to bring our hook down underneath the body of that stitch through the other side, yarn over, and pull through. From here, we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. So yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2, and yarn over, pull through the next 2. That is our first front post treble crochet. Now to do the actual cable stitch detail, we're going to start with a set of 2 front post double treble crochets. So that is going to be a yarn over of 1, 2, 3. Now still taking a look at our row 1, we are going to skip the following 2 stitches. So there's 1, there's 2, then into the following 2, we're going to insert with 1 front post double treble crochet into both. So we're going to, like I said, skip 1, skip 2, underneath the body of that following, and through the other side, yarn over, and pull through. And again, yarn over, pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. That is our first front post double treble crochet. We're going to be putting another into that following stitch as well. So again, yarn over 1, 2, 3 times. Underneath the body of that following stitch, through the other side, yarn over, pull through, then again, yarn over and pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. Now that those stitches are completed, we're going to be doing another set of 2 front post double treble crochets, but now working back into those 2 skip stitches. So yarn over 1, 2, 3 times. Taking a look at that first skip stitch, we're going to bring our hook back underneath the body of that stitch, through the other side, and pull through. And again, yarn over and pull through 2 until we have just 1 loop left on our hook, so same as our previous stitches. That is our first. We should have 1 more skip stitch to work into. So yarn over 1, 2, 3 times again. Bring our hook down underneath the body of that following, through the other side, and pull through. Then from here, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Now that that crossover is completed, we have 2 more stitches to complete for this cable stitch detail, and that's going to be 1 front post treble crochet into each of the following 2 stitches, so yarn over twice. Bring your hook down underneath the body of that following stitch, through the other side, pull through, and again, pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. And once more into that following stitch, so yarn over twice, down, underneath that following stitch, pull through. Then pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Now, so far, our right cable should be completed. We should have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches. Now from here, we're going to do our dividing stitch, which is a front post treble crochet combined with a half double. So how we're going to do that is we're going to start with a yarn over of 2. Just into that following stitch from our row 1, we're going to bring our hook down underneath the body of that stitch, through the other side, and pull through. From here, we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 2 loops left on our hook. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now that we have these 2 loops on our hook, we're going to yarn over, then insert our hook into the 8th stitch from our previous row. So we're going to pull our work down and count out 8 stitches together. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Into that 8th stitch, we will insert our hook in through there, yarn over, pull through. We should all have a total of 4 loops on our hook, then yarn over and pull through all 4 of those loops. Now that is our middle / dividing stitch. And we're just doing that stitch into the middle just so that we have a little bit more coverage and so that it's a little bit more secured in through that stitch. Now to do our row 3's left cable, we're all going to start with 1 front post treble crochet into the following 2 stitches. So yarn over twice. Just finding that following stitch from our row 1, we're going to insert with 1 front post treble crochet, so pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, another front post treble crochet into that following, so yarn over twice. Bring our hook underneath, through the other side, pull through 2, 2, and 2. Now we're going to do a set of 2 front post double treble crochets, so yarn over 1, 2, 3 times. We're going to skip 1, skip 2, and then 1 front post double treble crochet into each of the following 2. So like I said, skip 1, skip 2 into that following with 1 front post double treble. So just continue to pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Then another front post double treble, so yarn over 3 times, into that following stitch. So underneath, through the other side, pull through, then just continue to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Then we're going to do another set of 2 front post double treble crochets, but now working in through that window that we just made for ourselves. So we're all going to start with a yarn over of 1, 2, 3. We're going to hold on to our working yarn and pull our work down towards us, finding those 2 skip stitches. Here's my first, here's my second. We're going to start by inserting our hook underneath that first skipped stitch and through the other side, yarn over and pull through. Now from here, we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop on our hook. Now this is what this side's crossover should be looking like so far, and we're going to do this once more. So yarn over 1, 2, 3 times. Hang on to our working yarn. We're going to pull our work down towards us and find that last skip stitch. This is mine right here. We're going to bring our hook down underneath the body, that skip stitch, through the other side and pull through. Then from here, yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook again. And this is what the crossover for this side of our cable stitch detail should look like. Then we're going to close off the row with 1 front post treble crochet, so it's going to kind of frame our cables. So yarn over twice into that following stitch from our row 1, which should be our second to last. We're going to bring our hook down underneath through the other side and yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Then the last stitch in the row is going to be 1 half double crochet, so yarn over into the top of that last stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3. And this is our row 3 completed. We should all still have a total of 16 stitches, and for this portion of our piece, every even number row is going to be a half double crochet row. So all we're going to do is chain 2, flip our work, and put 1 half double crochet into every stitch. Then I'll meet everyone back at the end of the row. Now, just as a fun fact, our cable stitch details are typically worked in 4-row repeats, and our even number rows are usually single crochet rows. But since I would like to have just a little bit more coverage and less gaps, we're doing half double crochet rows in between. We have just completed our row 4. Now to get started on our row 5, which is our second cable stitch row, we're going to chain 2 and flip. So getting started on our row 5, we're all going to start with a front post treble crochet. Now, as a really quick tip, the first, the last, and that middle, which is that front post treble crochet combined with a half double, is always going to be a front post treble crochet because it's going to frame our cable stitches. So we're all going to yarn over twice and finding that first front post treble crochet from our previous odd number row, because remember, all of our post stitches are worked into the previous odd number row. We're going to bring our hook down underneath that first post stitch, pull through. Then from here, pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook, and that is our first stitch completed for our row 5. Now, our following cable stitch detail is actually going to be a repeat of row 3's left cable stitch detail. So, to get that started, we're all going to start with 2 front post treble crochets. So yarning over twice, we're going to find that first stitch from our previous odd number row, bring our hook down, through the other side, pull through, and pull through 2 with 1 front post treble. Then yarn over twice again, finding that following stitch and inserting with yet another front post treble crochet. Then we're going to skip the following 2 stitches, then into the 2 right after that, 1 front post double treble crochet into each of those. So yarn over 1, 2, 3 times. We're going to skip 1, skip 2, underneath the body of that following with 1 front post double treble. So yarn over, pull through, and yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. That is our first front post double treble. Another front post double treble underneath the following, so yarn over 3 times. Underneath that following stitch, through the other side, and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Now that we have those 2 stitches completed, working back in through those 2 skip stitches, but now in through that window that we just made for ourselves, 1 front post double treble crochet into each of those. So starting with the yarn over of 3. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. We're going to hang on to our working yarn, pull our work down. And finding those 2 skip stitches, here's my first, Here's my second. 1 front post double treble crochet into each. So bring our hook down. Underneath that first skip stitch through the other side and pull through. Then from here, yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Now this is what our crossover should be looking like so far. Then another front post double treble underneath that following. So yarn over 1, 2, 3 times, hang on to our working yarn, pull our work down. Finding that second skip stitch, bring our hook underneath, through the other side, pull through, then yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook again. Now this crossover is completed. Now we're going to complete this cable stitch detail with our dividing middle stitch, which is going to be our front post treble crochet combined with a half. So again, yarn over twice. Inserting our hook underneath that middle stitch from our previous odd number row, through the other side and pull through. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 2 loops left on our hook. Then we are going to still combine it with a half double, so yarn over. Taking a look at our previous row, we're all going to count out 8 stitches again. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Insert your hook in through that 8th stitch, pull through to get a total of 4 loops on our hook, then yarn over, pull through all 4. And now that middle dividing stitch is completed. So now we're going to do our row 5's left cable, and our row 5's left cable is going to be the same as our row 3's right cable. So to get that started, we're all going to start with a set of 2 front post double treble crochets. So yarn over 1, 2, 3 times. We're going to skip 1, skip 2. Underneath the body of that following stitch, we're going to insert with 1 front post double treble crochet. So just continue to yarn over 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Then again, 1, 2, 3. Underneath the body of that following stitch with another front post double treble crochet. Now that we have those 2 stitches, working back into those 2 skip stitches, 1 front post double treble crochet into each of those. So yarn over 3 times. Bring our hook back. Into that first skip stitch, we're going to insert through the other side and pull through. From here, pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Then into that following stitch, yet another front post double treble crochet. So just continue to pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left. Then we should have these 2 stitches right here. 1 front post treble crochet into each of those, so yarn over twice. Underneath the body of that following stitch with 1 front post treble crochet. Underneath that following stitch with another front post treble crochet. And now the cable stitch detail is completed. Now to do our last framing stitch, just 1 front post treble crochet. Remember that'll always be a front post treble crochet. Then just to complete the row, 1 half double crochet into the top of that last stitch. So now our row 5 is complete. We should all still have a total of 16 stitches, and like I said, every even number row is going to be a half double crochet row. So from where we're at, chain 2, flip our work, and put 1 half double crochet into every stitch. So we are back, and our row 6 is now complete. Now all we're going to do from here is continue to repeat rows 3 through 6. All of these links will be linked in the description, by the way, until we get the height of this cable stitch detail that we want, and then we can get started on the actual sweetheart cable stitch detail. So I would suggest to put this first row where we'd like for the bottom of this top to be, so roughly at my hips. Then I'm just going to continue to repeat rows 3 through 6 until I'm about an inch above my waist. Then I'll meet everyone back right after we complete a half double crochet row, and we are about to get started on our repeat of row 3's cable stitch detail. Now just so we remember which one's which, I'm about to get started on our row 7, which will be a repeat of our row 3's cable stitch detail, just to make sure that we all have it down. So from where we're at, we're all going to chain 2 and flip. Now for our cable stitch detail, it's always going to start with our framing stitches, which is always a front post treble crochet, so yarn over twice. Insert your hook underneath the body of that treble crochet from our previous odd number row, pull through, and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Then just to get started on our row 3's right cable, we're all going to yarn over 3 times, preparing for a front post double treble crochet. We're going to skip the first, skip the second, then into the following 2, 1 front post double treble crochet into each of those. Now that we have that, we would work back into those 2 skip stitches with 1 front post double treble crochet into each of those, and just continue making our way all the way down. Once we have the height of this portion completed, I will meet everyone back. Alright, so we are back. We have just completed the height of our cable stitch detail. Now I have a total of 22 rows. This height is just about 6 inches or 15 centimeters. Now we're going to get started with our actual sweetheart cable stitch detail. Now this first row is going to be pretty simple. Since we all should have ended right after a half double crochet and we're about to get started on our repeat of row 3, we're going to do our repeat of row 3's right cable. So go ahead and get that completed, and I'll meet everyone back right before we're about to get started on our dividing stitch. And we all want to make sure that we're inserting a stitch marker into the edge of this last half double crochet row, just so we know where this part starts and ends. But I will actually be inserting my stitch markers after this following row because I don't like to hear it clanking around too much. So we've all just completed our repeat of row 3's right cable, and we're about to do our dividing stitch. Now, that dividing stitch will just be a regular front post treble crochet now. It will not be combined with a half double crochet. So just to do that, we're going to yarn over twice, underneath that next post stitch with 1 front post treble crochet. Then right after that, we're going to get started on our Alpine stitch detail, which for this row is just going to start with a chain 1, and go ahead and insert your stitch marker into that chain 1, just so we know where the middle stitch is. Now after that chain 1, we're actually going to do the rest of our cable stitch detail per usual, but that dividing stitch will be worked into that same stitch that our previous dividing stitch was worked into. So we're going to yarn over twice, underneath that same post stitch from our previous row with 1 front post treble crochet, and that is our dividing stitch. Then we're going to continue on with a repeat of row 3's left cable per usual, then I'll meet you back at the end of the row. So we have just completed the first row to get started on our actual sweetheart detail. Now from this portion upwards, instead of the even number rows being a half double crochet row, they will be single crochet rows. So from where we're at, we're all going to chain 1, flip our work. We're simply going to put 1 single crochet into every stitch. We should have a total of 18 stitches at the end of this row, then I will meet you back. And we're switching out from our half double crochets to our single crochets because we are adding our Alpine stitch details, which will give us a little bit more coverage that the half double crochets did give us. And also so that once we reach our cups, single crochets are going to give us a smoother curve. So we've just completed our single crochet row. Now we're going to get started on our following cable stitch row, and that is going to be a repeat of row 5's cable. So from where we're at, chain 2, flip our work, do a repeat of row 5's right cable, including our dividing stitch or our middle stitch. Then I'll meet you back so we can get started on our Alpine stitch detail. We have just completed our repeat of row 5's right cable, including our dividing stitch. Now to still help us prep for our Alpine stitch detail, we're all going to do an increase of 3 half double crochets into that stitch marker stitch. So we're just going to take this out, and into that stitch marker stitch, we're going to insert with 1 half double crochet into that same stitch with a second half double crochet, into that same stitch with a third half double crochet. Now that we have that Alpine stitch prep completed, we're going to continue on with the rest of our repeat of row 5's left cable, then I'll meet you back at the end of the row. Now the third row for our sweetheart detail is completed. Now we should all have a total of 20 stitches. Our following row is going to be a single crochet row, so chain 1, flip our work, and 1 single crochet into every stitch. We have just completed our 4th row for our sweetheart detail. Now to get started on our 5th row, we're going to chain 2, flip our work. We're all going to start with a repeat of row 3's right cable, and I'll meet you back once we complete our dividing stitch. We have just completed our repeat of row 3's right cable. Now we're going to do our Alpine stitch detail. So since we all should have just completed a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches, Into the 9th stitch from our previous row, we're all going to start with an increase of 2 half double crochets. So counting out a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Into that 9th stitch, we're all going to do an increase of 2 half double crochets. Yarn over into that 9th stitch with 1 half double, into that same stitch with a second half double crochet. Now when it comes to doing our Alpine stitch detail, it is only going to be worked into our Alpine stitch section. So our following stitch is going to be a front post double crochet. So yarn over once. Taking a look at our previous Alpine stitch section, which should be this one right here, we're going to insert our hook underneath that middle stitch. We are not going to be working into that first half double crochet because this increase is directly on top of that stitch. So inserting our hook into that middle stitch from our previous Alpine stitch section, we're going to pull through. Once we have these 3 loops on our hook, we're going to pull up tall, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then once we have our front post double crochet, we are going to skip 1 stitch from our previous row because this front post double crochet counts as that stitch. So into the top of that next one, we're going to do another increase of 2 half double crochets. Now as a really quick tip, each of our Alpine stitch sections should have 2 more stitches than our previous row. So since we did an increase of 3 half double crochets from our previous Alpine stitch section, we should have 5 for this one. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're looking pretty good, so now we're going to complete this row. So complete this row with the rest of our repeat of row 3's left cable, then I will meet you back. We have just completed our cable stitch row. Now our following row is a single crochet row, so chain 1, flip our work, 1 single crochet into every stitch. So we are back, our single crochet row is complete, and we all should have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows for the sweetheart detail completed. Now we're just going to get started on the following one, and I'll let you do the rest on your own, so we're all going to chain 2 and flip. Now we're all going to start with a repeat of row 5's right cable, and I'll meet you back once we complete our dividing stitch. So we are back, we have just completed our repeat of row 5's right cable. Now we're going to do our Alpine stitch detail. Now our Alpine stitch detail is going to be done pretty much the same way as our previous row, but we are going to have 2 more stitches. So taking a look at our previous row, we're all going to count out a total of 9 stitches and increase into that 9th. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Into that 9th stitch, insert with an increase of 2 half double crochets. So there's 1, and then there's 2. Now we're going to do a front post double crochet, so yarn over once. When it comes to doing our Alpine stitch detail, it is going to alternate between a half double crochet and a double crochet, and our stitches will always be staggered from our previous row. What we're going to do is finding that second half double crochet from our previous row. That's where we're going to insert our first front post double crochet. We want to make sure that we're not working into that first half double crochet because that increase that we just did is directly on top of that stitch. So underneath that following half double, bring our hook down, through the other side, pull through. We're going to pull up tall, pull through 2, and pull through 2. Now whenever we have a front post double crochet and we're about to do a half double, we're going to skip 1 stitch from our previous row because that front post double crochet counts as that stitch. So into that following, we're simply going to insert with 1 half double crochet. And if you notice, the half double crochet should be directly on top of our previous Alpine stitch details front post double. Now we have another front post double crochet to do, so yarn over once. We're going to find that following half double crochet, bring our hook down, underneath, through the other side, pull through, pull up tall, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then when it comes to our Alpine stitch detail, we're always going to start and end it with an increase, so yarn over. Skipping that following stitch because remember that front post double crochet counts as that stitch, underneath the following with 1 half double crochet, and then with a second half double crochet, and now this Alpine stitch detail is completed. We should have 2 more stitches than our previous Alpine stitch section. So our previous one had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. This one should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now that Alpine stitch detail is looking pretty good, so we're going to continue on with the rest of this row, finishing it off with a repeat of row 5's left cable. We have just made our way all the way down with our cable stitches. Now just to finish up the following row together, chain 1, flip our work, 1 single crochet into every stitch. We are back and we have just completed our first 8 rows for our sweetheart detail. So all we're going to do from here is continue to repeat our 4 previous rows until we have the depth of the neckline that we want. So as a refresher, our cable stitches are going to be the same as all of our other cable stitches that we've been doing. The only difference is that for the Alpine stitch detail, we will have 2 more stitches than our previous Alpine stitch section. Then I'll meet everyone back right after an even number row, right when we're about to get started on a repeat of row 5. Then I'll meet you back to get started on our cups. So the total height of my sweetheart detail is complete. I have a total of 40 rows. This height is now just about 10.5 inches or 27 centimeters, and this width is just about 6.5 inches or 16 centimeters. Now we're going to get started on our right cup detail first. Now we're getting started on the right, but this will be the left side once when it's worn. So the first thing we're going to have to do is insert our stitch markers into our 2 middle stitches. We should all have 2 middle stitches since every row should have been increased by 2 stitches. And since my last row was a total of 34 stitches, my 2 middle stitches are going to be my 17th and my 18th stitch. Now from here, we're going to get started on our following row per usual. So we should have all ended right after single crochet row, and we're about to get started on a repeat of row 5's cable. So chain 2, flip our work. We're going to do our repeat of row 5's right cable, then I'll meet you back. Now we have just completed our repeat of row 5's right cable. We're now going to do pretty much the same Alpine stitch detail that we've been doing this entire time until we're worked into our stitch marker stitch. So into the 9th stitch from our previous row, start with an increase of 2 half doubles, then do our Alpine stitch detail until we're worked into our first stitch marker stitch, then I'll meet you back. Our first cup detail row is completed. Now we're going to do our following even number row. But just for the cups, what we're going to do is start with 1 single crochet, then into every stitch 1 half double crochet, and then close off the row with 1 single crochet again. That's supposed to give us a really nice curve for the sweetheart detail. So we're going to start with a chain 1 and flip. So into that first stitch, insert with 1 single crochet. Then into every stitch, 1 half double crochet, but into the last, just 1 single crochet. Then I'll meet you back. Our first 2 cup detail rows are complete. Now from here, we're going to get started on our following, so chain 2 and flip. Now our following row is going to start with a repeat of row 3's right cable. So get that completed, and I'll meet you back. Our cable stitch detail is complete. Now this row is going to start off the same way as all of our other Alpine stitch details. So into the 9th stitch, another increase of 2 half double crochets, then Alpine stitch all the way down, leaving that last stitch. Then I'll meet you back. We have just made our way all the way down with our same Alpine stitch detail, and we should all have 1 stitch left. Now we are going to close off this row with a front post double crochet combined with a half double. So how we're going to do that is yarn over. We're going to insert our hook into the last stitch from our previous odd number row, should be that edge half double crochet. We're going to pull through. Still pull up tall because it is still our front post double crochet. Yarn over, pull through 2. And now that we have these 2 loops on our hook, we're going to yarn over into the last stitch from our previous row. We may need to separate it a little bit, but go ahead and insert your hook in through there. Yarn over, pull through to get 4 loops on our hook, then yarn over, pull through all 4. And now that this 3rd row is completed, we're going to do our following single crochet row, which is single / half double. So we're going to chain 1, flip our work, start and end the row with a single crochet with 1 half double crochet into every stitch in between. Then I'll meet you back. Our 4th cup row is completed. Now these first 4 rows for the cup won't have any decreases into it because we want to establish a little bit of a base when we're starting our cup. Let's get started on our following, which is our first decrease one. We're going to chain 2 and flip. Start this row off with a repeat of row 5's right cable. Then I'll meet you back so we can do our Alpine stitch detail together because now we're going to decrease. Now that our cables are completed, to do the decrease portion, we're going to start our Alpine stitch per usual. So start it with an increase of 2 half doubles into the 9th stitch from our previous row, then do our normal Alpine stitches all the way down, leaving the last 4 stitches. We've made our way down, leaving the last 4 stitches. Now all we're going to do is a decrease of 4 double crochets. Now what we're going to do is yarn over, insert your hook into that 4th to last, pull through, 3rd to last, pull through, 2nd to last, pull through, and last, pull through for a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through the first 5 loops. That should leave us with 2 loops on our hook. Then yarn over, pull through 2. Our first decrease row is completed. Our even number rows are the same as our previous ones. So single crochet, half double, single crochet into that last stitch. Then I'll meet you back at the end of that row. Our single crochet row is completed. Now we're going to get started on our following row. So chain 2 and flip. Now getting started on this row, it's going to start with a repeat of row 3's right cable, then I'll meet you back. We have just completed our cable stitches. Now we're going to decrease together once more. So we're going to start off our Alpine stitch detail, same per usual, with an increase of 2 half doubles into the 9th stitch from our previous row, then continue on with our Alpines till we have 4 stitches left. So we've Alpined all the way down, leaving the last 4 stitches, and again, we're going to do another decrease of 4 double crochets, so let's just do that together. Starting with the yarn over, insert your hook into that 4th to last stitch, pull through, 3rd to last, pull through, 2nd to last, pull through, and last, pull through for a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 5 loops. That should leave us with 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through 2. Now after my first 7 rows for my cup detail, I am complete, so I will do a chain up of 1 and cut. But if you guys would like a little bit more height, you'll be repeating our 4 previous rows until you get the height that you'd like. Just make sure you end on a cable stitch row. So now that our right cup detail is complete, we're going to do the left. So we're going to start by making sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up. We're going to insert our hook into our other available middle stitch marker stitch, and working out towards the edge, we're going to start with our Alpine stitch detail first. So go ahead and insert your yarn onto your hook and start with a chain 2. Now that chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, we just want the height, and what we're going to do is just trace that stitch down, and it should be a half double crochet, so we're going to front post double crochet into there, so yarn over. Into that next stitch, yarn over, pull through, pull up tall, pull through 2, and simply into that next available stitch, because that chain is in through that stitch that our front post double crochet should be in front of, we're going to insert into that next available stitch with a half double crochet. Then all we're going to do from here is continue on with our Alpine stitch detail per usual, making sure that we are still closing off the Alpine stitch detail with our increase of 2 half double crochets, then complete the row with a repeat of our row 5's left cable, then I'll meet you back. So our first row for our left cup detail is completed. Now we're going to do our following single crochet row. So chain 1, flip our work, start with 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet into every stitch, then close off that row with 1 single crochet into the last. Then I'll meet you back. Our second cup row is completed. Now we're going to get started on our third, so chain 2 and flip. Now to do our third row, we're going to start with 1 half double crochet into that first stitch. So yarn over, into the first with 1 half double crochet, then Alpine stitch per usual, so yarn over, underneath the body of that next half double with 1 front post double crochet, then continue on with our Alpine stitch detail, remembering we're closing it off with an increase of 2 half double crochets, then complete the row with a repeat of row 3's left cable. Our third cup row is completed. To do the fourth, chain 1, flip our work. Start and end with a single with 1 half double into every stitch in between. Our first 4 cup rows are completed. Now we're going to do our first decrease run. So we're going to chain 2 and flip our work. Now since we're along the inside, we're going to start with a decrease of 4 double crochets. So yarn over, into that first stitch, pull through, next stitch, pull through, next, pull through, and next, pull through for a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 5, and yarn over, pull through 2. Now to continue with our Alpine stitch detail, we're going to do a front post double crochet. So yarn over. We're going to trace that following stitch down to our previous Alpine stitch section, should be a half double crochet. So just do 1 front post double crochet into there, then continue on per usual. So yarn over, skipping one stitch from our previous row because that front post double crochet counts as that stitch, into the next with a half double, and continue with our Alpine stitch detail, remembering to close it off with an increase, then complete the row with a repeat of row 5's left cable. Then I'll meet you back. Our first decrease row is completed. Now do our following even number row, so chain 1, single crochet into the first, half double crochet, and single crochet into the last. Our single crochet row is completed. Now we're going to do our following decrease row, so chain 2 and flip. Starting this row with a decrease of 4 double crochets, we're all going to yarn over. Insert your hook into that first stitch, pull through, next, pull through, third, pull through, fourth, pull through for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 5, yarn over, pull through 2. Then we're going to start with another front post double crochet for our Alpine stitch detail. So finding that next available stitch, trace that down to our previous Alpine stitch section, should be a half double crochet. So insert in through there with a front post double crochet. Continue on with our normal Alpine stitch detail, remembering that we're closing off that section with an increase of 2 half double crochets every time. Then complete the row with a repeat of row 3's left cable. So we are back. We have just completed our second decrease row. From here, we're just going to continue to repeat our decrease rows for the same amount of decrease rows that we had on this side. Now, after this one, I am actually all completed, so we can just work straight into the side panel together from there. So what we're all going to want to do, after that last row, do not do a chain up 1 and cut, because we're just going to work straight into the side panel with a single crochet row. So go ahead and chain 1 and flip. Now, working our way into the side of the cable stitch detail, what we're going to do is alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row, starting with 2 single crochets. So into our first side row, which is this one right here, we're going to find that top loop and insert with 1, into that same top loop with a second. Now into our following side row, which should be our side single crochet row, we're going to find that top loop and insert with just 1 single crochet. Once more, into our following side row, insert with 2 single crochets. Then into our following side row, we're going to insert with just 1. We're going to continue doing this, making our way all the way down, but once we reach our stitch marker side row, which should be just 1 single crochet into that side row, we want to make sure that we're inserting a stitch marker into that stitch. Then I'll meet you back at the end of this row. So we have just completed our first side panel row, which was just our single crochet row, and we did make sure to insert our stitch marker into that stitch that was worked into that side row. Now, before we get started on the following row, what we're going to need to do is actually move our stitch marker up either a stitch or 2, depending on how many stitches we have, to make sure that we have stitches in multiples of 3 from our first available stitch all the way up to the top. So for those of you that have my numbers, I have a total of 38 stitches, then my stitch marker. If I take away 2, then I'll have a total of 36 stitches, which is in multiples of 3. So I'm just going to take my stitch marker and move it up by 2 stitches. Then from that first available stitch all the way up to the top, it is in multiples of 3. So I am going to take out my original stitch marker. Now from here, we're going to do our following row. So chain 1 and flip. This is going to be a back loop slip stitch row. So into that first available stitch, we are going to insert into that back loop, yarn over, and gently pull through everything on our hook. We want to make sure that we're not tugging through too tightly, otherwise the following rows will be too tight to work into. Again, into that next stitch's back loop, yarn over, pull through everything, and continue with 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch until we're worked into our stitch marker stitch. We've made our way up with our back loop slip stitch row. We are worked into our stitch marker stitch. Now we're going to connect it into the base. The base is going to be the stitch just on the other side of our stitch marker stitch. So just into that next available stitch, insert with a slip stitch. Insert, yarn over, and pull through everything. Now that slip stitch doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's just a connect. Now we do need to work our way up to the following row, so we're going to slip stitch up the next 2 available stitches as well, but these 2 slip stitches also do not count as a stitch. Then we're going to flip our work. Now that we flipped our work, we're going to start with an increase of 4 half double crochets, and we want to make sure that we're working into that last stitch from our previous row and not into any of those slip stitches into the base. I did take out my stitch marker because it was getting in my way, but we're just going to yarn over, making sure we're not working into any of those slip stitches into the base. We're going to insert into that stitch's back loop with 4 back loop half double crochets. So in with 1 half double crochet, into that same stitch with a second, same stitch with a third, same stitch with a fourth, and that is our increase of 4 back loop half double crochets. And from here, continue with 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch until you reach the end of the row. Our back loop half double crochet row is completed. Now we're just going to repeat our 2 previous rows, but just as a really quick tip, with the increase of 4 that we do, sometimes our increases can bulge out like this, but since we aren't doing any increases or decreases into the slip stitch row, it should even it out. So just to make sure we have it down, we're all going to chain 1 and flip our work. Starting with that last stitch from our previous row, insert into that back loop and make your way up with 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. We've made our way up with our back loop slip stitches. Now we're going to connect it into the base the same way that we just did. So connecting our slip stitch row, we're just going to slip stitch into that next available stitch into the base. That doesn't count as a stitch, that's just a connect. Then to work our way up to the following row, which is a half double crochet row, slip stitch up the following 2 stitches into the base. Still doesn't count as a stitch, and flip our work. And starting with the last stitch from our previous row, we're going to insert with an increase of 4 back loop half double crochets, then put 1 back loop half double crochet into the rest of our stitches. So from here, we're just going to continue to repeat our 2 previous rows until we don't have any more stitches left to work into. Then I'll meet everyone back so we can get started on the underarm, then the width of the back panel. So we are back. We have just completed the fill-in portion of our front panel. Now what we're going to do from here is our underarm. So first things first, we're going to put this up to ourselves, making sure that the first cable stitch row is sitting where you'd like for the bottom of this top to be. Then, from the last row that we did, we're going to insert our stitch marker into the stitch that's nearest to the corner of our underarm. Now I've inserted my stitch marker into the 6th stitch from the top, and now we're going to do our following back loop slip stitch row. So since we all should have ended along the bottom, we're all going to chain 1, flip our work, put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch, leaving 2 right before our stitch marker. We've made our way up with our back loop slip stitches, leaving 2 stitches right before our stitch marker. Now we're going to close off the row with a decrease of 2 back loop slips. So inserting our hook into that second to last back loop, we're going to pull through, then into that last back loop. Then once we have these 3 loops on our hook, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. Now we're going to decrease into our half double crochet row as well, so chain 2 and flip. Now we're going to do a decrease of 3 back loop half double crochets, so yarn over. Insert your hook into that first stitch's back loop, pull through, next stitch's back loop, pull through, and next stitch's back loop, pull through for a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on our hook. Then yarn over, pull through all 5. Then from here, continue with 1 back loop half double crochet into the rest of our stitches. So we are back. We have just completed our first 2 underarm rows. All we're going to do from here is just continue to repeat these 2 previous rows until we now have a portion where this top edge that we have right here reaches roughly 1 inch underneath our underarm to make enough space for the top band. Then I'll meet everyone back right after a half double crochet row. Then we can continue on with the rest of our panel together from there. But right after these 2 rows for me, this is actually the height of my underarm portion that I need. So all we're going to do from here is just back loop slip stitch, back loop half double crochet rows with absolutely no increases, no decreases, making our way around our side and across our back until I reach the center back. I will meet everyone back right after a back loop half double crochet row, but a really quick tip, we are going to be filling in the other side as well. So if you can, don't cut after that last row just in case you need to add a few extra rows or take some away, but also we can work straight into the bust width once we get there as well. We are back and we have just completed the entirety of our back panel that reaches all the way over to center back. Now counting from our first single crochet row, I have a total of 43 rows. Now from here, like I said, I did not do a chain up of 1 and cut, but now we can get started on the other side. So getting started on our right underarm portion, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up. We're going to insert our hook into the bottom of our cable stitch detail. We're doing that because the ribbing that we have isn't reversible. Then our single crochet row is going to be the same as the first one. So we are going to alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row, making sure that we're inserting our stitch marker into that same stitch. We'll adjust the stitch marker just like how we did for the other side in the following clip, but go ahead and just get this single crochet row all the way completed. Once we're worked into that last side row, do a chain up of 1 and cut. We should end up with the same amount of stitches as our first single crochet row on the other side. Then I'll meet everyone back. So we have just completed our single crochet row. Now before we get started on the ribbing portion like how we have on the other side, we do want to make sure that we're inserting our stitch marker into the same amount of stitches that we moved it up on the other side. So for those of you that have my numbers, I had a total of 36 stitches on the other side, so I moved my stitch marker up 2 stitches. I just did that on this side as well. We do want to make sure that we have the same amount of stitches on both sides. Then we can get started on the following row. Our following row is going to be a back loop slip stitch row, and we're going to start it along the base, so let's start by flipping our work over. Now again, the base is going to be the stitch on the other side of our stitch marker, working our way up towards the top. So into that next available stitch, we're going to insert our hook, then insert our yarn onto our hook. We're going to pull our working yarn through, then working our way down towards the bottom, start with 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. Our back loop slip stitch row is complete. Now chain 2, flip our work, put 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch, leaving that last one. We've put 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch, leaving the last one. Now to match the increase on the other side, we're going to do an increase of 4 back loop halves. This is my increase of 4 back loop halves. Now we're going to connect it into the base, and how we're going to do it for this side is we're going to count up the next 2 available stitches. So there's 1, there's 2. Slip stitch into that stitch. And now our half double crochet row is completed. Now we still need to work our way up to the following back loop slip stitch row. So just into that next available stitch, insert with another slip stitch. So in through there, yarn over, pull through everything. Remember, none of those slip stitches into the base count as a stitch. Then from here, flip our work and put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. All we're going to do is continue to repeat those 2 previous rows until we don't have any more stitches left to work into. When we don't, I'll meet everyone back to get started on the underarm. So we are back. We have just completed the fill-in portion for the right side panel. Now we all should have ended along the top, so I did do a chain up of 1 and cut. Now we're going to do our underarm portion. So start by inserting our stitch marker into the same amount of stitches that we inserted into or the other side. For those that have my numbers, I inserted my stitch marker into the 6th stitch from the top, so I did the same thing on this side. Now we're only doing it this way because the ribbing isn't reversible, so now we're going to take a look at the back. Then insert our hook into the stitch that's right next to our stitch marker stitch, working down towards the bottom. Then we're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, and we're going to pull through, chain up of 1 just to secure. Now we're going to start with a decrease of 2 back loop slip stitches, starting with that same stitch that our chain 1 is in. So inserting into that same stitch's back loop, pull through. Next stitch's back loop, then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on our hook. Then continue with 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. Then at the end of the row, all we're going to do is chain 2, flip our work. Put 1 back loop half double crochet into every stitch, leaving the last 3 so we can decrease together once more. So we have made our way down with our half double crochets, leaving the last 3 stitches. Now we're going to do a decrease of 3 back loop halves. So yarn over into that 3rd to last, pull through, 2nd to last, pull through, and last, pull through for a total of 5 loops on our hook. Then yarn over, pull through all 5. Now all we're going to do from here is continue to repeat our 2 previous rows until we have the same amount of underarm rows as our first underarm portion. Once we have the same amount of rows, all we're going to do is just back loop half, back loop slip stitch rows, making our way all the way across for the same amount of rows as our other side. Once we have that, I'll meet everyone back so we can seam it all together. We are back. I've just completed the entirety of, pretty much the entirety of the body actually. And now from here, we're just going to seam up the back. Now, just to let you guys know, my total width from the base that I have is just about 20 inches or 50 centimeters unstretched. Now, how we're going to seam up the back is we're going to try this on. We are going to want to make sure that the bottom of our piece is sitting where we want it to sit once when the whole thing is completed. Then we're going to start by pinching the back from the bottom, pinching all the way up until it gets a little bit too tight. Then we're going to insert our stitch marker. Now, this little cutout that we're going to fill in is going to give us just a little bit more width to the bust area. But once we have our stitch marker into place, we are going to insert our hook into the bottom corner stitch, which our working yarn should still be there because remember we didn't cut yet. Then we're going to do an outside loop slip stitch seam all the way up. So just to let you guys know, I've actually inserted my stitch marker into the 43rd stitch from the bottom. That height is just about 8 inches or 20 centimeters. Once we have that, we're going to fold our work in half, making sure that all of our detail is along the outside. Then we're going to insert our hook into the bottom corner stitches. So we're all going to start by pulling through and do a chain up of 1 just to secure. Then we're going to find that first stitch into the front panel and insert only into that front loop. Find that next stitch into the back panel and insert only into that back loop. From here, we're all going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. Once more, next stitch into the front panel, only into that front loop. Next stitch into the back panel, only into that back loop. Yarn over and pull through everything. And we're going to continue doing this until we reach our stitch marker. Once we do a chain up of 1 and cut, then we can work on the bust width together. We have just completed our back seam. Now we're going to do the fill-in portion for the bust. So what we're going to do is make sure that our work is still flipped right side out, right side up. Then we're going to insert our hook into the top loop that we have. Now remember, we didn't do a chain up of 1 and cut, so our hook should be available to work into the top left corner. But if you did cut, just insert your hook into the top left, because remember, the ribbing isn't reversible. Then what we're going to do from here is chain 1, flip our work, start with 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch, leaving 2 stitches right before our back seam. We've just made our way down with our back loop slip stitches, leaving 2 stitches right before our seam. Now what we're going to do is a decrease of 2 back loop slip stitches. So inserting our hook into that next stitch's back loop, pull through, then also into that next stitch's back loop. When we have these 3 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. Now we are going to do a single crochet into the top of the seam as well, just to make sure that we have a middle stitch. So just into the top of the seam, insert your hook, and simply put 1 single crochet and insert a stitch marker into the top of that single crochet. Now from here, we're going to work our way up the other side. And we're going to start with a decrease of 2 back loop slip stitches. So inserting your hook into that first stitch's back loop, pull through, next stitch's back loop, yarn over, pull through everything on our hook, then make our way up with 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. We've just completed our slip stitch row. Now we're going to do our half double crochet row. So chain 2, flip our work, 1 back loop half into every stitch, leaving 3 stitches before our middle stitch. We've made our way down with our back loop half double crochets into our next 3 stitches. We're all going to do a decrease of 3 back loop half double crochets. Starting with the yarn over, insert your hook into that following stitch's back loop, pull through, next stitch's back loop, pull through, then next stitch's back loop, pull through for a total of 5 loops on our hook. Then yarn over, pull through all 5, then into our middle stitch, 1 back loop half double crochet into there and insert your stitch marker into the top of that stitch. That is our middle stitch. Then working our way up the other side, we're going to start with a decrease of 3 back loop halves. So again, yarn over, into that next stitch's back loop, pull through, next stitches, pull through, next stitch's back loop, pull through for 5 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 5, then continue with 1 back loop half double crochet into the rest of our stitches. Our half double crochet row is complete. Now just get started on the following row, chain 1, flip our work, put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch, leaving 2 right before our middle stitch marker. We've made our way down, leaving 2 stitches before our stitch marker. Now we're going to do a decrease of 2 back loop slip stitches into our middle stitch, 1 back loop slip stitch. Don't forget to insert your stitch marker into the top of that stitch. Then a decrease of 2 back loop slips, then 1 back loop slip into the rest of our stitches. We have just completed that back loop slip stitch row. From here, we're going to continue to repeat these 2 previous rows until we have a portion that can reach around our bust nice and comfortably. Then I'll meet everyone back right after a half double crochet row. So we are back. We have just completed with the bust width portion. Now I did a total of 4 rows, which should have all ended right after a slip stitch row. Then from there, I went ahead and just did the same seam that we did for the back, which is an outside loop slip stitch seam. So just to talk you guys through it, we're going to make sure that our work is slipped right side out, right side up. Do our same exact outside loop slip stitch seam so we don't have any more stitches left to work into. Then do a chain up of 1 and cut. Once we have that completed, then we can get started on the top band. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by inserting our hook into the top of that bust seam that we have. Then we're going to single crochet across the top. So we're going to insert our yarn onto our hook and put 2 single crochet into every side half, 1 single crochet into every side slip. And so we're all going to pull through and do a chain up of 1 to secure, and everyone's first row should be a side half double crochet row. So we're going to find that top loop and insert with 2 single crochets. There's 1 into that same top loop with a second single crochet. Now into that following side row should be a side slip stitch row, so find that top loop and insert with just 1. And from here, we're just going to continue doing this, making our way all the way across until we reach our first available stitches right before our sweetheart detail. Then I'll meet everyone back. We've just made our way across the top of our side rows. Now we have just reached our first few stitches. Now what we're going to do from here is simply put 1 single crochet into every stitch. Now right before we work into the top of our sweetheart detail, we should have just 1 single crochet row in between. We are going to put 1 single crochet into the top of that side row as well. Then just make our way across the top of our sweetheart detail. Then once we reach our last available stitch, before we start working into our few side rows, I will meet you back at that stitch. We've just made our way all the way across the top of our cups. Now we're going to work our way down our cups. So all we're going to do is alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row, starting with 2 single crochets. Now everyone's first side row should be a side cable stitch row. So we're just going to trace that across and finding our first side row, insert with 2 single crochets. There's 1 into that same top loop with a second. Now our following side row should be a side single crochet row. So find that top loop and insert with just 1. And we're going to continue doing this until we reach the inside of this cup right here. So we've just made our way down the inside of our cup. We do want to make sure that we're inserting a stitch marker into that last available stitch so we know where one of our middle stitches are. Then working our way up the other cup, we're going to repeat. So into that first side row, we're going to insert with 2 single crochets. So I'm going to take out the stitch marker and into the first side row on this side, let's insert together with 2 single crochets. There's 1, there's 2. Go ahead and insert your stitch marker into that first available stitch so that we know where our 2 middle stitches are. From here, continue to alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row, then 1 single crochet into every stitch. Then just continue on with the rest of our single crochet row, making our way all the way across. Then when we don't have any more stitches left to work into, slip stitch into that chain space that we made when we got started on the row, then do a chain up of 1 and cut. We've just completed our single crochet row. Now we're going to get started on the height of our top band. So first things first, we're going to make sure that our work is still flipped right side up, right side out. Insert our hook into one of our stitch marker stitches, and we're all going to insert our yarn onto our hook. Now this top band is going to start the same for everyone, no matter what size we're making. So we're going to pull our working yarn through, and we're all going to start with a chain 1. Now that chain 1 does not count as a stitch, but into the same stitch that our chain 1 is in, so that stitch that our stitch marker was in, we're all going to insert with 2 single crochets. So into that stitch, insert with 1, into that same stitch with a second single crochet. Now we're going to connect it into the base, and the base is just the next available stitches that we have into the cup. So just finding that next available stitch, we're going to insert with a slip stitch. Remember, connecting it into the base doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then we do need to work our way up to the following row, so slip stitch up that following stitch into the base, still doesn't count as a stitch, and flip our work. So our work is flipped, so what we're going to do from here is put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch and close off the row with an increase. But since this is our row 2, we should have just 2 available stitches. So inserting our hook into that last stitch from previous row, not into any of those slip stitches into the base, start with 1 back loop slip stitch. Then into that next stitch, which should be the last, we're all going to do an increase of 2 back loop single crochets. So into that last back loop with 1 back loop single, same back loop with a second back loop single. We're increasing using a back loop single because that's the cleanest increase that we can do at the end of the row. Now once we have that, we should have 1, 2, 3 stitches so far for this row, and we do need to increase into the following row as well, so chain 2 and flip. Now that first chain is going to count as a stitch for the following row. That second chain is our turning chain. Then what we're going to do from here is 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. So starting with the second chain from our hook, we're all going to insert into that back loop, yarn over and pull through everything. Then continue with 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. And at the end of this row, which should be our row 3 for everyone, we should have a total of 4 stitches. Now this is the end of my row 3. Now we're going to connect it into the base the same way that we just did. So finding that next available stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch, doesn't count as a stitch. Then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that following stitch into the base, still doesn't count as a stitch, and flip our work. From here, all we're going to do is repeat our 2 previous rows until we get the height of the top band that we want. So just to get started on our row 4, we are going to find that last stitch from our previous row, not working into any of those slip stitches into the base, put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch, leaving the last one. Now since this should be our row 4 for everyone, into that last stitch, we're all going to do an increase of 2 back loop single crochets, and at the end of our row 4, everyone should have a total of 5 stitches. Then this is actually the height of the top band that I would like, but if you would like more rows for your top band, what you're going to do is chain 2, flip our work, and slip stitch into that second chain from our hook all the way down. Then just continue to repeat those 2 rows until you get the top band height that you would like. Then I'll meet everyone back right after an even number row, so that is along the outer edge, just so I can show you how we're going to be doing our following rows. But since this is the height that I would want, which is just about 1 inch or 2 centimeters, all we're going to do is chain 1 and flip our work. Then make our way down with 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch, but since this was our last increase row, we do want to make sure that we're inserting a stitch marker into the outer edge of that row so we know where that starts and ends. We've made our way down with our first non-increase row. Now we're going to connect it into the base the same way that we've been doing. So just into that next stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch, then simply to work our way up to the following row again, slip stitch into that following stitch, into the base, flip our work, and put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. Then continue to repeat our non-increase rows, making our way all the way around until we reach our tail end along the back. Once we do a chain up of 1 and cut. But once we have that, we're going to repeat everything we just did here on the other side of our cup as well. But once we reach our tail end along the back, do not do a chain up of 1 and cut, because then we can work straight into the seam together from there. So we are back. We have just completed both of our top bands. Now we're going to seam the back together, and I went ahead and already did my seam. Now this seam is going to be the same outside loop slip stitch seam that we did for the back portion. So just to talk you guys through it, we're going to make sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up. Do our same outside loop slip stitch seam till we don't have any more stitches left to work into. When we don't, do a chain up of 1 and cut, then we can seam up the front. So now seaming up the front, it's going to be kind of the same way that we've done our other outside loop slip stitch seams, but we don't have any actual stitches to work into. We're worked into the edges of our side rows. So what we're going to do is make sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up. Then we're going to insert our hook into the side rows that our stitch markers are into so that we can work down towards the bottom. We're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and do a chain up of 1 to secure. Then all we're going to do is find that first side row within the front panel, insert, next side row within the back panel, insert, then yarn over and pull through everything on our hook. And once we have that, we're going to continue doing this, making our way all the way down. When we don't have any more stitches left to work into, do a chain up of 1 and cut. Then I'll meet you back. We have just completed seaming everything up. Now the last thing we're going to do is our straps. So first things first, we're going to want to try on our piece. We're then going to insert our stitch markers into any stitches within the front where we'd like for the strap to be, and for the width that we'd like for the strap to be as well. So just to let you guys know, counting from my top band's front seam, counting from my first available side row, I went ahead and inserted my stitch marker into the 14th and 19th side row. Now from this stitch marker to this stitch marker is just about 1 inch or 2 centimeters, which is the width that I'd like for my strap to be. And that is going to be a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches, counting from our stitch marker to our stitch marker. Now I went ahead and did the same thing on the other side because I do want the straps to be symmetrical. And now we're going to do the same thing on the back. Now counting from our back seam, we're going to insert our stitch markers into the side rows where we'd like for it to connect, but we do want to make sure that it's for the same width that we have for the front of our piece. So counting from my back seam, I went ahead and inserted my stitch marker into the 8th and the 13th stitch. And counting from here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 side rows from stitch marker to stitch marker, and repeat it on the other side. Now we're going to work on the actual length of our strap, so let's take a look at the front panel. We're all going to start by inserting our hook into one of our stitch marker stitches and working our way across to the other stitch marker. We're just going to put 1 single crochet into every side row. So I'm going to insert my yarn onto my hook, pull through, and start with a chain up of 1 to secure. That doesn't count as a stitch. Then we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every side row. So starting with that same side row that our chain 1 is in, I'm going to insert with a single crochet. Into my following side row, I'm going to insert with another single crochet, and continue doing this until we're worked into our following stitch marker stitch. So our first row for the strap is completed. Now from here, we're just going to chain 1, flip our work, put 1 back loop, slip stitch into every stitch, chain 1, flip our work, 1 back loop, slip stitch into every stitch again. We're just going to continue on with that back loop slip stitch row with no increases, no decreases, until we have a portion that can stretch up and over our shoulder and can reach our stitch markers within the back. Once we have that length, I will meet everyone back so we can seam it to the back. We have just completed the length of my strap. I have a total of 52 rows. This is just about 8 inches or 20 centimeters unstretched. Now we're going to seam it to the back. So let's start by flipping our work wrong side out. So now that our work is flipped wrong side out, we're now going to do a single crochet seam. So all we're going to do is fold our strap in half, making sure that it's not twisted. We're going to take our hook and insert it in through our stitch marker stitch and in through our working yarn and pull through. Then we're going to do a chain up of 1 just to secure. Then pinching our 2 ends together, we're going to start with 1 single crochet in through every side row while working 1 single crochet into every stitch into the strap. So finding our first side row, this is mine right here, I'm going to find that top loop, insert, finding our following side row within the back panel, single crochet. Again, next side row within the front panel, insert into that top loop, next available stitch into the back panel, and single crochet, and that's it. We're going to continue doing this until we reach our stitch marker stitch. We shouldn't have any more stitches left to work into after that. Then we're going to repeat on the other side. Now, since these are just some spaghetti straps, we do have some other cable stitch tops with the Sweetheart neckline with different variations of sleeves. We have one with a hood, we have one with balloon sleeve, we have one with short sleeve, and we also have a dress one. But if you guys would like to check out any of those types of sleeve, if you would like to add those onto this one, I will have that linked up here so that you guys can check it out. So we are back. We have just completed with both of our straps, and we are actually now all done. Last thing I have to do is simply weave in all of our ends. And there you have it, y'all. Hope you enjoy the tutorial. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. Those links are down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Catch you on the next one. Bye.